Michael and Grace had a very beautiful home, but their happiness was short-lived because Helena and Lovett felt very jealous and envious about their marriage. So, Helena vowed to destroy their marriage, no matter what it took her, and persuaded Michael to marry Lovett instead. A few months after the marriage, Helena informed Grace that she would be coming with her stepsister to visit them. Grace accepted to host them, despite how harsh and wicked they treated her before she was fortunate to get married. Michael was against their visit, but Grace, who had a very good heart, convinced Michael to host them just for a few weeks.
Please, my love, they won't stay beyond a month. Let us just host them as a way of appreciating them for accommodating me since the death of my mother.
Michael saw eye to eye with her reasons and then accepted to host them. Immediately, Grace informed her stepmother that she could come to Jaiye City. Her stepmother embarked on a very long journey into the forbidden forest. She wanted to meet a very powerful herbalist who was known to possess supernatural powers. After walking for days, she found the herbalist. When the herbalist asked her what she wanted, she said to him, "My husband and I have 5 children already, and we don't have the money to take care of them all. Please, help me with some herbs that will prevent me from getting pregnant so we won't give birth to any more children." The herbalist laughed at what Helena said. He knew she was lying, but he pretended to believe her. The herbalist did some incantations and saw a vision. In the vision, his deity told him to give Helena a herb that would stop Grace from getting pregnant. But he should ensure that the herbs wouldn't harm Grace. It was fated to happen for Grace to fulfill destiny. The herbalist told Helena,
"Put this in your food at least once a day. As long as you continue taking this herb, you would never get pregnant."
Helena thanked the herbalist and went back home. She dried the herbs and blended them into a smooth, fine powder. Then she poured it into a small bottle. She took her Lovett to the market and bought her new fancy and sexy clothes that will reveal the exact shape of her body. Helena's plan was to make Michael lust after Lovett, eventually sleep with her and get her pregnant, while Grace remained barren. The next day, they both left for Jaiye City. This would be the first time they would visit Jaiye City, and they couldn't believe their eyes. They were captivated by the magnificent city of Jaiye, and Michael's mansion was a beauty to behold. When they entered the mansion, everything was so exquisite and luxurious, and Helena resolved in her heart to do whatever it takes for her to live there forever. When Michael and Grace arrived, Grace looked so beautiful and elegant. Michael had transformed her from the lowly, malnourished lady she was to an epitome of beauty. Welcome, Mommy and Big Sister. I hope you had a pleasant journey. Yes, we did. Your house is so beautiful, I must confess. Thank you so much. I'm glad you could join us. Helena pretended to be happy and content, but deep down within her, there was a burning desire to eradicate Grace and replace her with Lovett in Michael's life. The very next day, Helena brought out the herbs which the herbalist had given to her. Every morning, she would sneak into the kitchen and pour a little portion of the herb into Grace's soup so she wouldn't get pregnant for Michael, no matter how hard they tried. Helena also informed her daughter to be mindful of certain meals which they would be served. She lied to Lovett that her body would negatively react to the food and it was best to avoid them totally, except for the meals she instructed her to eat freely. Lovett had no idea about what her mother intended to do, so she obeyed her. Meanwhile, Michael's mother was equally conspiring to destroy her son's marriage. Her name was Diana. Diana was an arrogant and proud woman who cared less about the poor and less privileged. She saw them as nothing but filth and slaves. However, Michael was very difficult to convince. Diana hated Grace with passion, despite the fact that she was now married to her son. She had frustrated Grace by putting her through rigorous trainings. However, Grace learned them all perfectly. Yet, Diana wasn't satisfied. She had wanted her son to marry Bella, her best friend's daughter. After a month, Michael wasn't comfortable anyway with the way Lovett dressed and acted around him. So he suggested that Grace should tell Helena to return to the village since it was 1 month already. But Helena refused to go back to the village. She insisted that there was enough room in Michael's house to accommodate them all. So why should she return back to the filthy village? Michael was against her intentions, but Grace pleaded once again on her behalf, and Michael accepted to continue accommodating them. 6 months after their marriage, Grace was yet to get pregnant. Helena was secretly spreading rumors that Grace was barren and had no womb. But unknown to them, Helena was the culprit behind her barrenness. Oftentimes, Bella would visit Michael, but Helena had no idea that Bella was the woman that Diana, Michael's mother, wanted Michael to marry. She just assumed that Bella was his business associate. On some occasions, Helena had seen Bella with some men in awkward positions in Jaiye City, but she didn't care because she didn't see Bella as a threat. One day, Michael saw Lovett in one of her skimpy dresses when he was watching a movie in the living room. She pretended to drop an item on the floor so Michael would be enticed by her shape when she bent. But Michael called her to sit beside him.
Lovett, you're a very beautiful and lovely lady. You don't have to seduce me to win my heart. I love Grace a lot. If beauty was what I wanted, there are many beautiful ladies in Jaiye City that would do anything to be my mistress.
Why do you think I won't seduce you?
It's obvious. Grace is my wife and you are not. Because beauty doesn't keep a man. Only your personality would. You're making the same mistakes you did before. Dress decently. Protect your dignity and you'd find the right man for you.
Lovett was deeply moved by his words. She started weeping and went on her knees, begging for his forgiveness. I'm sorry for the way I treated you in the village. Please forgive me. I have forgiven you a long time ago. You're too beautiful to sexualize yourself. Improve your personality and don't make the same mistakes again. Please don't tell Grace. I beg of you. You are here because of Grace. I didn't want to host you and your mother, and I didn't even want you to stay this long. But she pleaded on your behalf, despite how harshly you have treated her. Lovett thanked Michael and went back into her room. She wept bitterly and regretted her actions. She determined to be a better person just as Michael had advised her and stopped dressing to seduce him. However, when Diana got wind of the rumors that Grace was barren, she revealed her true nature. She insisted that Michael should send Grace out of his house, but Michael refused, so she planned to lure Michael into a trap. Diana told Bella to invite Michael to a party. She asked Bella to lie to Michael that it was a send-off party because she would be relocating abroad and would like to tell Michael goodbye in person. Michael accepted to attend the party, but when he got there, Bella drugged him. When he was no more in control of himself, Bella forced herself on him and slept with him. After 3 months, when Helena saw that Michael wasn't willing to send Grace out of his house, she planted a fabricated charm in Grace's wardrobe. Then she started spreading rumors that Grace was a witch and the reason she wasn't yet pregnant was because she ate her babies. When Diana heard this, she used it as a reason to send Grace out of Michael's house. She claimed that Grace bewitched her son into falling in love with her. Then she brought Bella to Michael's house. She reminded Michael of the night they slept with each other when he was drunk. Bella is pregnant for you. I knew Grace wasn't right for you. You only slept with Bella once and she's with child. Yet it's almost a year and Grace is yet to take in. Michael didn't know what to believe anymore. Grace went on her knees pleading with Michael to believe her, but Michael was confused. When Helena heard what Bella and Diana said, she knew she had lost the battle and everything she had done backfired on her. But she couldn't say anything. As they dragged Grace out of the house, Grace went to Helena and said to her, I have never seen you as my stepmother. I've always called you my mother because I see you as my own mother and Lovett as my own sister. I know you're responsible for all of this, but I forgive you from the bottom of my heart. Then she carried her luggages and left Michael's mansions in tears. She went to the car park and saw the driver who helped Michael when he came to the village. When he saw her, she explained what happened to the driver in tears. Please, stay with my wife. She will take care of you. Don't cry anymore. Everything will be okay. The driver assured her, and so Grace stayed with the driver's wife in his home. However, after 3 months, Grace discovered that she was pregnant. Ever since she left Michael's mansion, Helena couldn't block her womb with the herbs anymore, and Michael had slept with her the night before she was sent out of the mansion. Grace was so happy. She wanted to go and break the news to Michael, but the driver's wife asked her to be patient. Meanwhile, Diana came to Michael's house one evening and asked Helena and her daughter Lovett to leave Michael's house. Why are you still here, you filthy parasites? Your witch no longer stays here, so I want you both to leave as well. Helena felt really hot and embarrassed. If she didn't frame Grace, no one would have treated her this way. Michael stood and watched as his mother ridiculed Helena and Lovett. Helena couldn't bear the shame any longer, combined with the guilt she felt when Grace told her she forgave her before she left the mansion. She spoke up. Grace is not a witch. She can never be a witch. She's the most kind-hearted lady I have ever known. The fetish charm you saw in her wardrobe was planted by me. I was the one who blocked her womb so she wouldn't get pregnant. I wanted you to marry my daughter Lovett. Then Helena pointed at Bella. As for this harlot who is claiming to have your child, she's an imposter, and I am very certain that the child she has in her womb doesn't belong to you. I have seen her many times with many other wealthy men around Jaiye City. Lovett couldn't believe her eyes and she started crying. Why, mother? Grace has been so good to us despite how wicked we've treated her. She took me as her own sister, yet I maltreated her because of you. Lovett went into the room, packed their luggages, and they left the mansion. Helena was equally crying when they left the mansion in shame. Michael stood in shock and surprise at what he had just heard, but he didn't react. He decided to wait until the baby was born so he would perform a DNA test. Helena and Lovett went back to the village in search of Grace. They were fortunate to meet the driver who told her where Grace was. When they both saw Grace, they were shocked to see her pregnant. They both went on their knees and pleaded with Grace to forgive them for the way they treated her. Grace forgave them without even thinking twice and took Helena as her mother, Lovett as her sister, as she has always done. When Bella gave birth to the baby, a DNA test was carried out and it turned out Michael wasn't the father of the child. Michael was so devastated and frustrated. But at the same time, he was happy and relieved that the child was not his. He sent Bella out of his house and resented his mother for trying to destroy his marriage. Diana pleaded with her son Michael for many weeks before he forgave her. She then followed Michael back to the village in search of Grace. They went straight to the driver's house, and as fate would have it, they arrived at the moment Grace was in labor. In less than 5 minutes after he arrived, the midwife informed everyone that Grace had successfully given birth to a bouncing baby boy. Diana and Michael were confused. When they entered the house, they went on their knees and pleaded for Grace's forgiveness. Grace told them that she had forgiven them long before they came looking for her. Then she told Michael and her mother-in-law that the son belonged to him. She explained that she was already pregnant the day they sent her out of the mansion. The next day, they all went back to Jaiye City. Helena treated Grace like her own daughter ever since. And Lovett and Grace became more than sisters. Diana as well loved and cared for Grace equally as her own daughter. Lovett eventually got married to John, a well-known businessman and a friend to Michael. He was captivated by her humility and decency. They all lived happily ever after in Jaiye City and had many more children. The moral lesson of this story teaches us to be good, because it is good to be good, and not because you are in anticipation of any form of reciprocation. Grace loved her stepmother and stepsister despite how harsh they treated her. Her nature was what melted their hearts in the end. Do not pay evil for evil or evil for good, because in the end, goodness will always prevail. If Grace had treated her stepmother with disdain and hatred just as they treated her, she may not have married Michael. If you can, love your enemies, because they can be your stepping stone tomorrow. If Grace didn't convince Michael to host Helena, she probably wouldn't have seen Bella being promiscuous, and her revelation wouldn't have surfaced when it did. Beauty is good, but a beautiful personality is way better. Beauty may attract a man, but it won't keep him. A good personality may not attract every man, but it will definitely attract the right man.